TopMedTalk. Happy holidays, folks.
Oh,
it's Monty Mythen, Editor-in-Chief of TopMedTalk, back for the third episode of our Christmas or holiday special series. So in the United Kingdom, it is Boxing Day. Desiree, do you know what Boxing Day is?
I have no... We talked about it last year.
Yeah.
Still unsure about what it is this year.
Well, it's the day after Christmas Day. And if you look it up on Wikipedia, which I've just done for you because you said, what is Boxing Day? And I said, well, there's different opinions on it. And what does Wikipedia say?
There are competing theories for the origins of this term.
Okay, so
none of which are definitive.
Let's get on to the fact. It's
so
the day
after Christmas.
And the wonderful Nick Majerison to come back into the studio. Thank you, Nick.
Nick, you're amazing.
To make sure that we go out 365 days a year.
That's right.
But this is pre-recorded by us in
Louisville, Kentucky.
At the Chappell household.
That's right.
So it is the day after Christmas. We're pretending it's pre-recorded. How's it been for you? How was Christmas? In the
I'm going to assume that Christmas was great for us.
Did you eat too much and drink too much?
Because it is. Never. But the kids had an amazing time.
So back to the final part of our three-part holiday series.
Thanks for everyone that's been listening.
Thanks for everyone that's been listening. Thanks to everybody, our sponsors, our friends and our family, particularly the listeners. Free open access medical education. Now, where did we leave it off?
Okay, so that is the third part. So we're finishing up with August through the rest of the year. And in August, we were at the American Association of Nurse Anesthetists annual meeting.
And where was that?
That was in Chicago.
Back to
Our
Chicago.
Our favorite place. I know.
Where Sol Aronson,
that's right,
who is from Chicago, popped around the corner and supported us. And the AA, they looked after us really well.
The ANA, thank you so much for all the support that you've given TopMedTalk over the last year. And we look forward to our relationship with them. But they had us in. We were able to talk to not only just ANA board members, but what I really loved about this meeting is that we're able to sit down and talk to just constituents within our organization that are on the front line doing their job, first of all, but doing some really cool stuff and talking to us on TopMedTalk about some of those things.
Now, we had a really eclectic mix of conversations.
Super eclectic.
We had we spoke to the Navy, the boys in the fancy
Navy,
uniforms.
Army guys that were doing some novel things with the ESB blocks in the field, like in austere environments, which I thought was super cool. To hear from those guys. We heard from inventors that were, inventing new products, new equipment.
But you've chosen two or three clips for us.
Two or three. Yeah, I mean, I could go on and on.
But we had a new first, I think, for
Okay, we did. So Jose Castillo, who is a CRNA in Florida, and he is on the Diversity and Inclusion Committee for the ANA.
Diversity and Inclusion
Committee. Yes. So we had several conversations about diversity within the ANA and what we're doing as an organization, but we're also doing on the ground to continue the conversation and open it up about diversity within our organization and in anesthesia in general. But this particular conversation was about taking care of transgender patients.
So let's have a little listen to that.
Let's listen to Jose.
In the past 12 years of my practice, I only came across 3 transgender individuals, and it was a challenge. And it was kind of disheartening to see people talk and whisper, and I thought that we can do better. Yeah. As anesthesia providers, we should not look at people regarding of their choices and their beliefs and their actions about themselves, but we need to treat the individual that is in front of us. And that's what sparked this interest. And then when I got more involved with the AANA Diversity and Inclusion Committee, that's when I'm like, we need to do more. We need to present this topic. We need to expand our horizon. We need to educate our providers so that all of us will be on the same page with best practices for the care of transgender patients.
So as I said in the conversation, that's familiar territory where I work back in London, because we do andrology, we do a lot of reassignment, which I think makes also a comfortable place for transgender people to work as well.
It's wonderful to have that, but many of us don't. And so to have this conversation and start opening it up and maybe give people, a chance to have an icebreaker, in their own facility about caring for this type of patient, I think is a great thing.
And perhaps apply some emotional intelligence.
Monty, your favorite.
Your second clip.
Andrea Bittinger, who is a CRNA, and she's also with the admissions and clinical coordinator for Oaklawn Beaumont graduate nurse anesthesia program. So she's going to talk to us about her DNP project that she did with emotional intelligence, how that she's wrapped that into the admissions process at her facility or at her organization. So let's listen to Andrea.
So I became the first CRNA in the country to become certified in emotional intelligence, which was fascinating. But then her and I sat down an extra day and talked about how to utilize EI in an admission process. And she cautioned me to make it the only assessment tool. There's a lot of different criteria, but we talked about how to incorporate it into an interview. And so that was my plan. And then the next month, I started my DNP. And I knew I wanted to study EI for my DNP. And I really wanted to look at it in students. But for your doctorate project, you cannot look at students. So then I thought, well, I'll look at EI and CRNAs. I'll just replicate a study that's been done. And what I found, it had not been studied at all. There was no literature about emotional intelligence in certified registered nurse anesthetist. What I did find, what kept coming up, was emotional intelligence in nursing. Mm-hmm. And the majority of the literature had to do with stress and burnout. So that became my topic, I was going to do a springboard study on emotional intelligence in certified registered nurse anesthetist. So with the help of my great committee and the Michigan Association of Nurse Anesthetists, I was able to complete a descriptive study on assessing those levels.
Now, as I said, when we interviewed her, I kind of thought that everyone in our field, every clinician would have emotional intelligence when it came.
You really thought that? Like when you said,
you'd hope it would be some sort of entry-level criteria screening thing, but maybe it will be more in the future that will all get filtered out.
Well, honestly, I think for
EI,
any job.
Yeah. So that was us back in Chicago?
Yes, it was. So it was the AANA. Again, thank you for the support this year. That's been fantastic. And we look forward to AANA 2020 in San Diego.
And we accelerated towards the back end of the year. And next we found ourselves in Dingle. Dingle in Ireland. So Dingle is in the county of Kerry, which is Ireland. And the Dingle Peninsula is the most westerly part of Ireland, and therefore the most westerly part of that part of Europe. And that is where my family, my mother's side of the family, is from originally.
Yeah.
So very, very close connections. I used to go back there for all my summer holidays. And 20-some years ago, when I came back from America to work back in London, we decided that we wanted to have a conference somewhere in the United Kingdom, but not to have it in London. And when I asked people, where do you think you want to go? When I mentioned the fact my family's from Dingle, they said, fantastic, bring it on.
Let's do it.
And that's my beautiful, recently, sadly departed sister, Siobhan. You're going to make me cry now.
Don't cry.
Set it all up and ran successfully. And this year, part of the whole challenge of the whole thing was the fact that we were saying goodbye to Siobhan.
That's right, we were. But it was a wonderful send-off that I think she would be very proud of.
Yeah, it was,
she was very proud of that meeting, and as well your whole family.
We celebrated her life.
We did. Good. We did. It was sad, but I think that it was also very representative of who Siobhan was and the legacy that she has left there in Dingle. What
a great community.
It is. It's phenomenal. It's the first time I've been there. I mean, a lot of the people that have been coming to Dingle have been, for years, been coming to the meeting.
Actually, I just thought of this. We should play Paul Miles, when we interviewed him at the ASA.
That's right.
In Boston, a couple of years ago. We should play that little clip when we asked Paul Miles what he thought about the Dingle meeting.
That's right.
Which is where he'd been just the other side of the pond before he went over to the ASA at Boston. Nick, play that for us.
Yeah.
I have very fond memories of Dingle. The Dingle EBPOM conference is one of the best small meetings in the world. I do know it's effectively the most western point of Europe.
Yep.
And I did realise a couple of weeks ago that if I looked out towards to sea, the first place I would probably see is Boston.
There you go.
It's great to complete that loop.
Fantastic.
But I am heavily jet lagged. That's another story.
Fantastic. Well, thank you for that. Paul, I agree. Best little meeting of its kind in the world. Agreed, Desiree?
I absolutely. It's everything that you're looking for whenever you go to a meeting and more. So
we've chosen two special highlights from this.
Yes. So one of my favorite one of my favorite interviews I've ever done, actually, was talking to your mother and getting a little bit of history about your family heritage there on the Dingle Peninsula, and what was fantastic was that our moms are both nurses, and your mother in particular not only has a connection to Ireland, but her connection to the NHS and nursing within the organization.
Recruited as one of the very first nurses in the recently or newly formed National Health Service.
70 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that was one of my favorite questions that I got to ask her
about. So they signed people up like you'd sign people up for the army. So my father got signed up for the land commission, which is, in other words, he was signed up to come over and, what they said, dig the roads, if you see. And my mum was signed up to become a nurse. Yeah.
And she did. And so we asked her about that, and she told us a little bit. So let's listen to Joan Mythen.
Then I left Ireland 1949. They came to the town to recruit people to go nursing or to go to England. Lots of girls went, they worked in factories, but I wasn't 18, so I didn't tell my mom. She wouldn't let me, but I'd signed on, she couldn't do anything. I was 18 in September, and then I went to England, and I had a little brown case, I had ankle socks, I had a herringbone coat, and a label for 7 and 6pence. That was my fare. Because I was recruited, they paid my fare. Then we had a very rigid medical. You were stripped, everything taken off, and people were turned away dirty. I couldn't travel.
Oh, wow.
TB was ripe. People were turned back because they still had TB. Then we walked to the North Wall. We wouldn't know it, but it's a big long walk. And we had something else medical there. So I was 3 days before I got on a cattle boat to come to England. And there was cattle underneath, and we stopped off at Birkenhead. The boat left off the cattle. And it was 2nd of October, 1949, which is 70 years last week. And I had my first date. We were given a packed lunch, and the nurses were split up. The nurses were put in one group, factory workers in another group, and that. And then we came to Charing Cross, and we had more directions. I was given directions to go to Plumstead Station, and I was the only one going there. There was 11 of us in the group, come from Cork, Tipperary, other places. And I got off, and I was all alone. And I walked along to the hospital. I went in, I thought, am I doing the right thing? So I joined the community, and I was with them. I got my long service medal from Princess Anne for 40 years service.
Great.
Well, thanks for doing that, Desiree.
It was an honor and a privilege to talk to your mother and your family. I interviewed several other family members.
The amazing,
which was super cool.
Uncle Paudy Fitz as well.
Yeah, Paudy. So one of these days on TopMedTalk, we're going to have that up there as well. So
1956 Olympics.
That's right. He was a cyclist. The Mythens are cyclists, by the way. I don't know if you know that. But previous generations.
We're trying to be now recyclists.
Anyway, it's good to have a listen.
The other amazing thing, there was lots of great things at Dingle. But Martin Howe, our partner, the lovely Martin, is our partner, founding partner in TopMedTalk, very graciously came over and told us about the Grenfell inquiry.
Well, so for new listeners, Martin is a solicitor, a lawyer.
Yeah, there's a law firm.
Our studio is there.
Is in his building. It used to be a hospital. He converted it into his law firm, and he put the studio in there. We use it as the TopMedTalk studio. Yeah. And he's a civil rights lawyer.
He is. And so he became involved and represented several of the families that had lost family members in the Grenfell.
It's a Grenfell Tower which we've driven past many occasions in West London. Very, very sadly, there was a fire, which Martin you can listen to the whole. It's a
23-story building, block building in London. Yeah. We'll let Martin explain it. Yep.
It is the biggest loss of life and fire in London in residential accommodation since the Second World War.
We're doing it now.
Okay, good. Keep phone with you and I'm going to stay on the line, okay?
Okay.
Okay, all hold hands, okay, and get as much wet clothes on you as possible.
All hold hands, girls. Hold hands, girls. Everybody hold hands.
Others were teachers. Others were street sweepers. Many families. It was a community. It's a community where the kids used to play football on the lobbies and areas, and school was right beside it. They went to church around there. And on that night, their lives were turned upside down and destroyed.
Oh my days, oh my days. Oh my days, man.
And then immediately after the fire, some of the gutter press attacked those who lived in the tower, describing them as scroungers and benefit scroungers and cheats. Disgusting stuff.
Hello? Yes, Simon, no. I know you don't talk to me, just listen to me. Simon, no. That you're on that floor now, okay? Take a few deep breaths, because you've got to be strong, okay? You've got to be strong.
Come on.
Don't give up.
You can't, come on.
Don't give up.
Come on, where's the fire brigade? Jesus!
Why, in London, in 2017, a disaster of that type can take place? You don't wrap the building in highly combustible, flammable material. If I had a pan of petrol here, and I threw a match onto it, that would catch light slower than the materials on the outside of Grenfell Tower.
Well, so I mean, there wasn't a dry eye.
No, there was not.
House.
No.
I mean, you know, what is it that we can let those sorts of things happen?
Yeah.
But anyway, complicated stuff. But thank you, Martin. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, Martin, thank you for sharing. And I think it was really important to share that with our TopMedTalk friends and family. I think that everyone has appreciated listening to that, and I think that if you haven't listened, that you should, because it was a really moving and powerful,
And we're thinking, this holiday period time, we're thinking of everyone who's lost people. Mm-hmm. But all those folks around Grenfell, thoughts and prayers are with you.
Yeah,
so let's try and cheer ourselves up.
Okay.
A bit depressed.
So Dingle, despite hearing from Martin and some of those really moving experiences at Dingle, we also had a phenomenal time. And throughout the rest of the year and in the beginning of next year, we'll hear more from the conversations and talks from the meeting. So all that will go out as lecture series from Dingle.
Anyway, please come and join us in Dingle. EdPom Dingle. It's not going to be called EdPom Ireland, actually.
Oh, yeah.
The Dingle conference will be in October on the Dingle Peninsula in 2020. Please come and join us.
Collaborating with the Irish Association.
Absolutely. Yeah. South of Ireland Association.
Everyone should. I'm telling you right now, I've become a believer. Everyone should make it to the Dingle meeting. All right.
So we're nearly done. So where did we go? How did we round it off?
We literally flew from Ireland to Orlando. The conference center for the American Society of Anesthesiology.
Largest gathering of anesthesia providers in the world, we think.
Anesthesiology 2019. Yeah, for over 14,000 delegates were at that meeting.
This is our third year?
Third year in the
trade exhibition. So in partnership with Edwards Life Sciences, this year we had our own stand. Mm-hmm. And we set up beautiful setup, and we had relentlessly interviewed people. Everyone very generously gave their time.
That's right. Every year I say we're not going to do it like we did.
You say not so many interviews, but
we just can't help ourselves. We meet so many amazing people.
So let's pick a few out.
So first of all, I have to give a shout out to Jeff Simmons from UAB. Monty, you weren't there when we first talked to Jeff, but he has been a Twitter maniac and gives lots of
Jeff Simmons.
The real Jeff Simmons. Jeff Simmons, if you're listening, thank you so much. We had such a great time talking to you. But just a testament to what TopMedTalk, like what we do. We talk to everyone. Cool
people. Let's play really some clips. Who should we play first?
So. One of my fave conversations comes from one of my favorite people in the world is Carol Peden.
So Carol brought her team over, didn't they?
She did. So Carol Peden, I absolutely love her. We have had her on TopMedTalk several times. discussing an array of different topics. But Carol is a professor of anesthesia at the University of Southern California, and she has also helped to lead an enhanced recovery program or mentor the people developing an enhanced recovery program at Keck Medical.
Well, they had a stand there, didn't they?
They did.
The power of the interdisciplinary team.
It was awesome, and they actually won an award for one of the what they had submitted, their scientific presentations.
Let's listen to. So the whole team came along.
They did. It was so great. You've got to listen. So we're going to play a little clip right now.
In no particular order, I have Robin Krasner, who's an RN, CCRN, and she's one of our quality improvement implementation experts. I have Dr. Shane Dickerson, who's an anesthesiologist, and I have Snow Schuson, who is our project manager for the team and incredibly organized, and we have all these amazing resources that she pulls together.
Yeah, that's amazing. So I was over at your guys' booth, so congratulations, because I just saw that you won an award here at the ASA. Robin, what did you win?
We won second place for the exhibition.
Oh,
the scientific
exhibition,
the scientific exhibition. So that's really, really cool. And one other thing I noticed in your booth was a big roll-up banner talking about something that happened in U.S. or was out in USA World News. Was it?
Yeah, we were just recently named the number 16 hospital in the U.S., which is obviously great, but also it's fairly unique because we only became an academic medical center 9 years ago. So it's quite a rapid rise up the rolls.
Hey?
I tell you what.
Interdisciplinary
They're
team.
doing it. Yeah, they're doing it. So excited to hopefully talk to them in the near future again about their program.
So throw the next one at me.
Mike Scott.
Love
you, Mike Scott.
Who we dragged out of
Le Luc Blanc.
Le Luc Blanc. So, Mike, for those people who don't know, the amazing Mike Scott is extremely well known in the wine region of Burgundy in France. And he's so well known that he's got his own nickname. So if you listen to the full podcast, I dragged that out of him, where he said that his nickname is Le Loup Blanc, which is the white wolf.
Oh, my gosh.
So what did the white wolf taught us? I mean, he's always teaching about amazing things.
So not only is he well known in Burgundy, he is also well known in the anesthesia and perioperative medicine community. He came from Guildford? Am I saying that right?
Yeah, Guildford.
Guildford in the UK and helped to start an enhanced recovery program there. And he went to VCU. He's been at VCU and he's been leading as their leading the clinical effectiveness team there. And so we've talked to Mike a couple times on TopMedTalk, but this particular conversation, we not only talked about enhanced recovery, but we talked about like how do we do the change? How do we?
And he gave away some secret sauce. Let's listen to Mike talk about some secret sauce.
Yeah.
But I do agree with you. Most of ERAS is protocolization and compliance with those elements. I think getting opioids out of surgery, but ensuring patients have good functional recovery is key. And we've done that at VCU. We've almost halved opiates in the perioperative arena in the last 12 months alone with a structured approach. And so the biggest challenge, I agree, is actually the hemodynamic framework and getting people to recognise the importance of fill the tank, optimise flow, and then maintain pressure. And that's our little motto that we've got going in VCU at the moment is fill, flow, pressure. And that's the buzzwords at the moment to get this implemented. And we're now in week 4. But it's taken a long time to get there. We use all the different flow monitors. They've all got advantages, disadvantages. Some are more invasive than others. If you've got an arterial line in, then we just put it on a flow track, obviously, because that's easy. But sometimes we're not got an arterial line, we might use bioimpedance. Or the other time we might use something else like the esophageal Doppler. So we like to think that we use all of the technologies, but we do use them slightly different from some of the traditional GDFT studies, and it's something we developed in Guildford, and our feeling is that even with carbohydrate loading, you need a certain volume to go on to mitigate against the physiological changes in positive pressure ventilation.
Absolutely.
Monty.
So I'm going to throw something in because we interviewed Andy Shaw.
We did.
Andy Shaw, always very generous with his time.
He is.
But Andy Shaw it's information that's in press, but if you want to get the heads up.
Yeah, it's still tight. You can still get it.
Exactly. Heads up. Listen to the Andy Shaw interview at the ASA. and it's a massive cohort study about perioperative blood pressure measurement. We've been banging on about, the observation that a MAP of 65 for as little as a minute is associated with poor outcomes. He's, I think, I was going to say trumped that one, but you scowl at me when I say Trump.
No politics.
It's a massive study in hundreds of centres, which reinforces that whole message.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to play a clip from that, but please do listen to the whole thing.
It's great.
You need to listen to the whole detail. So one last clip.
Okay. So one last clip. We talked to Tim Short and Kate Leslie, who are...
They're anaesthesia providers from, no, that's not true. Kate, you trumped me there because Tim Short is from New Zealand.
That's right. Yes.
And Kate Leslie is from
Australia.
So they know each other from the Australia and New Zealand. Now, they sound
Clinical Trials Network.
Exactly, the Clinical Trials Network. And they've just been presenting the results of one of the largest studies they've done in the world so far.
Which we already knew the answer.
We did know the answer from Prato, but we can't tell anyone that.
Listen to part 2 of the holiday series.
But they told us about the results of this trial looking at depth of anaesthesia. Let's first listen to them describe the trial design.
That's a good idea.
7 or 8 large studies of observational data showing quite a strong association between overly deep anaesthesia and subsequent mortality rates being higher. The question was whether we could improve patients' outcomes by intervening and, quite aggressively targeting a lighter level of anaesthesia, and whether such an approach would be safe.
And to give the lighter or deeper anaesthesia, we now have monitors that tell us about depth of anaesthesia, sensors we can put on. And as I understand the trial, you sort of set that at 2 different levels to get a separation of dose?
Yes. I mean, we basically chose 2 levels. One was at the deeper level where most patients traditionally have probably sat, but now with the depth monitors we can run people safely at a lighter level of anaesthesia with, we hope, no increased risk of awareness as a result of using less anaesthetic gases.
That's great. Now, fantastic. And then the next thing is we teased. It was a little bit, getting it out of Tim.
Tim was not really wanting to share.
But then we managed to get the results, and the results are go Tim.
The result.
Drum roll, please.
We looked at a very large number of parameters, but the initial result was essentially the survival of the patient for 1 year after their major surgery. And we found that there was no difference in outcome between a light level of anaesthesia and a deep level of anaesthesia. But I must predicate that this was not very deep anaesthesia.
Yes.
It was strictly within the bounds of normal clinical practice. But I think we defined that our current practice of anaesthesia is essentially safe.
And then finally on this, because we have to give it one last shot because it's a very, very big trial.
It was.
Let's ask the wonderful Kate Leslie to explain to us what practically we think this means to the broader community.
Yeah, it was great. She was fantastic.
Sure. So we based the 2 group depths on a lot of research that had been done previously and also experience in Tim's hospital with their large database. And we worked out that anaesthesiologists or anaesthetists tend to confine their anaesthetic depth to a range of between a BIS value of 35 and a BIS value of around 50. And that results in a sort of a reduction, a 1/3 reduction in the amount of anaesthetic vapour or sevoflurane or desflurane that's administered to patients in the lighter group. So we found that we could get 2 groups that were acceptable to anaesthetists and that were within the recommended guidelines of the company that produces the monitor, and also that were consistent with previous research projects. And so it's a real-world comparison. It's not a comparison, as Tim has already said, between 2 things that are not normal in clinical practice.
So we are. That's reassuring.
Yeah.
Depth of anaesthesia, which we're often worried about whether it's harmful in its own right. But I think the big takeaway message is, with the right monitoring, you can turn those vapours down.
Yeah.
You can use less anaesthetic. You can get good for the planet.
Manage hemodynamics.
It's a TopMedTalk type of message. let's sort the carbon challenge out. See what we can do. Well, what a wonderful year. We'll do our wrap-up, our New Year wrap-up.
Yeah.
But, here we are on Boxing Day, which we now know what it might possibly mean.
Actually, I don't think we got there, but it's okay. We're just going to go with it.
I hope everyone's had a really great holiday period.
Season.
We'll all be back to work shortly. Once again, a big, big, big thank you. I'm just so blessed and so lucky that I haven't been going into work this holiday season. Always, a joy to go and look after our patients when we need to, but it's great to be at home with a family.
Yeah, so thanks to all that are
all have done
home.
it, all have gone in and do it.
Yeah, or that are working.
Exactly. Yeah. And as always, a big thank you to
our sponsors.
Yep.
To our family and friends.
All of our listeners.
All of our guests that have given their time over the last 2 years to share their knowledge and expertise in their areas of interest. And then to our listeners, like you said.
Absolutely.
We wouldn't be here without you guys.
The final thank you, which we haven't done so far yet, is the TopMedTalk team.
That's right.
So
That's
lucky.
what I was going to say.
To Henry, to Martin, to Sol, to the wonderful Nick Majerison.
That's right.
To Joel, who's helped us out this year.
Joe Olivas.
Exactly. To everyone involved.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. We'll give you the wrap-up of the end of the year, and hopefully we'll be able to report that we're either over or at our 500,000.
500,000. That's what we're shooting for.
Come on, get downloading.
We can do it by
get
December
downloading. 30th. Why wouldn't you want to download TopMedTalk over Christmas?
Well, that is one thing, Monty. We have to say that if you subscribe to TopMedTalk at TopMedTalk.com, you can get. We'll send it to you. The editor's top picks for 2019.
Yeah.
So be sure to do that in the Perioperative Coach series, which is great too. So
more Christmas presents.
There you go.
Calorie free.
Guilt free.
Guilt free.
All right. Well, thank you again, everyone, for listening. Cheers to you and.
Merry Christmas to those who celebrate Christmas. Right. Otherwise, together, happy holidays.
Cheers.
TopMedTalk.